Hey, fifth grade, happy Monday. This is Miss Gibson coming to you with your reading for today. I hope you guys all had a great weekend and are ready to get back into Bud Not Buddy as we are basically halfway through after today. So, you guys should make sure that you are on Monday, May 18th for your packet. Make sure you are on chapter 10, page 58 in our text. And then, of course, have the stop and jot Google form out so that you guys can do the stop and jots as we are working through this text together. So make sure you have all three tabs open. I'll give you guys a couple of seconds just to make sure you're there. All right. So, just for a recap, we are going to talk about where Bud is heading and why. So, based off of chapter 9, where is Bud heading to and why? Exactly. Bud is heading to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and he is going to try to figure out where his father, Herman E. Calloway, is. All right. So, of course, we already know that he's walking there. So, let's get into chapter 10 together and figure out what's going on. Today, we'll be tracking character interactions that Bud has within this chapter and how the change of settings will be affecting him along with the interactions. So, let's get into page 58. You guys are going to follow along as I read aloud. And then after that, you're going to get into the first stop and jot when we are done. As we're reading, we're going to show our understanding of how Bud is comparing the new setting he's in to what he's used to. So make sure you are tracking what's going on in this setting now for chapter 10 compared to what Bud was already getting into when we were reading into the story. All right, so let's go on to page 58, beginning of chapter 10. Okay, Flint ended all of a sudden, and I was in the country. It was like one of those days that is raining on one side of the street and not on the other. Here you have Flint and a sidewalk. You take one baby step, and here you have country and a dirt path. On the sidewalk side, a sign said, "You are now leaving Flint. Hurry back." And on a dirt path side, "You are now entering Flint. Enjoy your stay." I jumped in and out of Flint around 7 times before that got boring, and I decided I'd better head for Grand Rapids. It was already very, very dark, and unless things were different in the country, it wasn't going to be getting light anytime soon. 120 miles, it didn't take too much time before I figured out that 24 hours worth of walking was a lot longer than I thought it would be. I must have only been walking for a couple of minutes when everything changed. First off, there were the sounds. Flint could be pretty noisy with what cars honking horns and trucks with no mufflers on them, shifting gears and people yelling out at each other so you couldn't tell if they were happy or about to bust out fighting. Out here in the country, the sounds were loud too, but what I was hearing was the sound of bugs and toady frogs and mice and rats playing a dangerous, scary kind of hide and go seek where they rustle around and try to keep away from each other or try to find each other. Instead of being tagged and called it like the way human beings play the game, out here the ones that got ate up. Every step I took toward Grand Rapids, I could hear the sounds of mouse bones and bug skeletons being busted up by the teeth of bigger things. Every once in a while, a couple of cats will give out the kind of howls and yowls that would make the hair on your neck jump up if you were a human being and your heart turn into a little cup of shaky yellow custard if you were a mouse. I walked and walked and walked. Some of the time, a car would pass by and I'd have to duck into the bushes and wait till it had passed. So I don't think I was doing any 5 miles an hour. I felt I'd been walking all night, but I'd only gone through three little towns. Okay, so we are now getting into what's going on with Bud and this new setting. So you guys are going to get into the first stop and jot of comparing and contrasting Flint and the country setting and explain the effect it's having on Bud. Go ahead and pause the video and get started. All right, so welcome back from trying out Stop and Jot 1. You guys should have definitely been quoting from the text to answer this question because it explicitly states this difference that Flint has compared to the country setting that Bud is walking into. Let's get into the text to get some evidence to show this. So it basically says here First off, there were the sounds. So Flint could be pretty noisy, what with cars honking horns and trucks with no mufflers on them, shifting gears, and people yelling out at each other, so you couldn't tell if they were happy or about to bust out about to bust out fighting. So this is already the main difference here. And then it says out in the country, the sounds were loud too, but of course these sounds are different. Everything is basically silent, but the sounds of animals. So you have the cats howling and yowling. You have the mouses running away from bugs as they are becoming prey. You have the frogs croaking, things like that. So the sounds are already the main difference between the two because of how Flint is with the cars and city vibes. And then you have this new place that he's walking into is just straight country. And there's like no real car sounds going on other than the ones that pass by, and all he hears are animal sounds. Okay. Now, the next thing you guys will be getting into is reading pages 59 to 62. I'm going to show you where you're going to stop. Okay. So you're going to read the next page, so 59, and stop on page 62 after you read the rule. So once you're done here, this is where you're going to stop. Now, there's going to be an important person coming up within this next few pages that you guys are going to experience, and it'll be your job to track the conversation that is going on and the actions of Bud as he's in this new setting. Okay. Once you're done with that, you were going to get into the second stop and jot of why do you think Bud ducks into the bushes when cars pass by, and why did he eventually stop hiding? So make sure you are reading the pages carefully as all these things are happening to him within this couple of pages that you guys are going to read, and then pay attention to his actions throughout this setting right now. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and get started. You guys are again going to read pages 59 to 62 and stop after that rule in red, then get into the second stop and jot. Go ahead and pause the video and get started. All right, welcome back from doing stop and jot number 2. Why do you think Bud ducks into the bushes when cars pass by? And why did he eventually stop hiding? So let's get over into the text to see what's going on with that. Okay, so we ended off page 58 with comparing and contrasting the settings, and then we had to get into the stop and jot, second stop and jot of understanding why he is basically hiding from these cars. So it says at the beginning of page 59, where you guys are supposed to start reading, I was getting so tired that I started to forget to duck in the bushes when a car would roar by. Some of the time they see me and step on their brakes for a second, then speed off. Most times they never noticed me. So, and then it leads into another car bounced over the top of the hill. The lights blinded me for a second, and then I ducked into the bushes again. The guy in the car stepped on the brakes to slow down, and I could see him twist his neck around. He stuck the car in reverse and pulled to a stop about 30 giant steps away from where I was hiding. His door opened, and he stepped out and started walking slowly toward my bushes. He brushed his hand over his head and put on a black hat like the kind the police or some army men wear, but all the cops I'd ever seen were white, so I knew this guy must be a soldier. Okay, so let's get into this idea of him like hiding every single time a car passed by. Why do you guys think he's doing this right now? Right. Bud still doesn't trust people, correct? So he is on this journey alone. He doesn't want to get in trouble for being on the lam. And of course, he's trying to walk over like 24 hours just to get to another place, to another city to figure out Harmony Calloway and meet his father. So in this moment, Bud is still going to hide and do what he needs to do to just get to the destination that he wants to get to and not be sent back to the home or sent back to that foster family. So realize why he's hiding, and it's because mostly the reason why because he just doesn't want to get caught, and he doesn't trust anybody really because he's by himself. All right. So this is one of the reasons why Bud is hiding in the bushes as he's on his journey right now. Okay. And then why did he eventually stop hiding? So he meets this guy, as you can see, and he's talking like the guy is trying to get all his attention for for trying to get him out the bushes because he's not going to leave. But first, how did the guy persuade Bud to get out of the bushes? Right. He is offering him food at this point. He says, "From the quick look I got at you, you seemed a little on the puny side. I'll bet anything you're hungry. Just so happens that I've got a spare bologna and mustard sandwich and an apple in the car. You interested?" Bud, of course, still isn't answering. Then he goes into might even have some extra red pop. So pop is soda, right? So right now, this point, like he's realizing, like I am actually hungry. It's really late at night, and this guy has extra food for me and a soda for me. How can I say no to that? And then this is when he blurts out, "But I don't like mustard, sir." So this is the initial point of contact where Bud actually lets his presence be known, and is also like stating also the reason why he's actually coming out of the bushes. Okay, so but they have conversation still, but was very, like standoffish about coming to actually come out the bushes. But once he realizes how hungry he actually was, then that's when he's like, all right, maybe I should come out the bushes and see what this guy's about and get this free food. Okay. So this is what's going on. And let's get into the remaining piece of this chapter to figure out what happens next. So, as we're reading, we're going to finish the chapter together, and then you guys are going to get into the last stop and jot. And make and as you're reading, make sure you're still tracking this interaction between Bud and this new driver that stopped for him to give him food. As we're reading, we're going to think about how does Bud guarantee that he continues his quest to Grand Rapids? Because realize before he was hiding because he didn't want to be in contact with anybody or get in trouble or be sent back. So let's get into how Bud actually guarantees that he will be going back, going to Grand Rapids and not back to Flint. All right. So you guys should be at the top of page 42 after the rule has ended. So make sure you're there and follow along as I read aloud. The man said, "My problem is I'm not quite as brave as you are. I'm feeling very, very uncomfortable standing on the side of the road just outside of Owasso, Michigan at 2:30 in the morning, and the sooner you could put my mind at ease about what you're doing out here, the sooner we both can go about our business, okay?" I nodded. He waited a second, then nodded too. I nodded back. He said, "Well, I was too doggone tired and hungry to think up a good lie. Nothing, sir." He looked disappointed. "What's your name, son?" "Bud, not Buddy, sir." Now there's an unusual name. Did you run away from home, Bud, not Buddy? I could tell this guy was poking fun at me, but I answered anyway. "Yes, sir." "Okay, that's a start." He handed me the bottle of red pop. He must have had it sitting in ice in the car. It was cold and sweet and delicious. After a couple of seconds, he pulled the bottle away from my mouth. "Hold on, hold on. Don't belt it all down on the first pull. There's plenty here." I slowed way down. "Okay, Bud, you run away from home. Where is that?" I don't know if it was because of the red pop juicing up my brain or because I'm such a good liar, but one of those things got me thinking again real quick. The first thing I knew was that no matter what I told him, this man wasn't going to let me stay out here by myself. But the nervous way he kept looking around was making things seem so scary that not staying out here was okay. The second thing I knew was that I couldn't tell this man about the home or the Moses. I wasn't about to let him take me back to either one of them. The man said, "Where's home, bud?" Then another jolt of red pop must have pumped through my heart because my brain came up with a perfect lie. "I ran away from Grand Rapids, sir." See how perfect the lie was? Maybe this guy would feel sorry for me and put me on a bus to Grand Rapids and I wouldn't have to do any more doggone walking. He must have some money. Anyone driving a car like this would have to be rich or at least know somebody who was rich. The man scratched under the back of his hat and said, "Grand Rapids?" He said that like it was the most unbelievable thing in the world, like you need to put six exclamation points after it. Something about the way he said it made me nervous, but I answered him, "Yes, sir." That's the bad thing about lying. Once you say one, you've usually got to stick with it. Well, I'll be, the man said. That's where I'm from. I left there not an hour and a half ago. He snatched the bottle out of my hand, grabbed my arm, walked me over to the passenger side of the car and started to open the door. I was glad I was going to be getting a ride, but I said, "Sir, I left my suitcase over in the bushes. Can we please get it?" See, my eyes aren't near as bad as I thought they were. I knew you had a box or something, but not buddy. You don't know how lucky you are. I came through here. Some of the Owasso folks used to have a sign hanging along here that said, and I'm going to clean up the language for you. It said, "To our Negro friends who are passing through, kindly don't let the sun set on your rear end in Owasso." He must not have trusted me because he kept hold of my arm. We went over to the bushes and I grabbed my suitcase. Then he walked me back to the car. When he opened the side door, I could see that there was a big box sitting on the front seat. The man never let go of my arm and wrestled the box over into the back seat. If he would have let go of my arm for just 1 second, I would have run like the devil was chasing me. On the side of the box, some big red letters said as clear as anything, "Urgent, contains human blood." Oh man, here we go again. My heart started jumping around in my sandwich. My heart started jumping around in my stomach, sorry. The only kind of people who would carry human blood around in a car were vampires. They must drink it if they were taking a long trip and couldn't find any people to get blood from. This guy figured he'd rather have my fresh blood than blood out of a bottle. I barely heard him say, "Get in, I'm going back to Grand Rapids tomorrow. I'll send a telegram to your folks and then take you back." Then he made his first mistake. He let go of my arm. I slid into the car and he closed the door behind me. Quick as anything, I locked the door and crawled over to the driver's side of the car and pulled that door closed and locked it just as the vampire reached for the handle to get in. I dug around in my pocket and pulled my knife out and put it under my leg. I put my hands on the steering wheel and looked at the gear shift, tried to figure which way was go. I stretched my legs out as far as they reached and could just get to the gas pedal. I pulled the gear lever down and the car took off with the vampire running as hard as he could to catch me. Wow, if I kept things like this up, I would knock babyface Nelson off the FBI's 10 most wanted list. Okay, we finished chapter 10 together, and then now you guys are going to get into that third stop and jot of answering how does Bud guarantee that he continues his quest to Grand Rapids? Make sure you are going back to the text and looking at the pages we just read, which were 62 to 64. Okay, so realize what Bud just did throughout this interaction and how he is guaranteeing his trip to Grand Rapids throughout this interaction. All right, go ahead and pause the video and get started on that last stop and jot. All right, welcome back from trying out that last stop and jot. Let's get into what's going on in the text. So, how does Bud guarantee that he continues his quest to Grand Rapids? Now, this is where he decides to come up with another lie that he has to live with. So, he is now telling the guy that he ran away from Grand Rapids. This is on page 63. So make sure you guys are here so we can follow along to what's going on. Now, he goes, he continues to say, "See how perfect the lie was? Maybe this guy would feel sorry for me and put me on a bus to Grand Rapids and I wouldn't have to do any more doggone walking. He must have some money. Anyone driving a car like this would have to be rich or at least know somebody who was rich." Now, once Bud said this lie, of course, the guy agreed and loved it because he was excited to hear that he is from someplace that he just drove from. He's shocked. He's like, "Well, I'll be. That's where I'm from. I left there not an hour and a half ago." So he's already thinking about how he's going back to Grand Rapids. And it even goes further to say that get in. I'm going back to Grand Rapids tomorrow. I'll send a telegram to your folks and then take you back. So the plan for Bud to make it to Grand Rapids with this new guy has already been put into motion. But then, of course, something crazy happens, right? Why does Bud basically steal this man's car? Right. He thinks this guy is a vampire because of what is on the box in the back because it says contains human blood. So Bud is now freaking out and he just locked this man out of the car and stole the man's car. So before we get into next week's chapter, I hope you guys are excited. Next class chapter, I hope you guys are excited to find out what happens next. So make sure you guys come Wednesday ready to go and ready to read for chapter 11. Your code for today is blue for the exit ticket. So make sure you guys are putting in that word correctly. And of course, using this text for chapter 10 to help you answer the questions for today's exit ticket. Again, these exit tickets questions are from the text, multiple choice. You guys should be acing these at this point. We are halfway through this book. So make sure you guys are trying your hardest on these and actually referring back to the text and not off of memory. All right. So go ahead and get into that exit ticket for today. Again, the code is blue and make sure you use the text. All right. Bye and have a great day.